Konnichiwa, minasan. Japan's culture and history are one of the main reasons people visit, according to most world travel blogs, and it's even cited as Japan's main draw for tourism by the Japan National Tourist Organization. No matter where you go when visiting, you'll find historical sites and shrines around practically every corner, and I thought it would be helpful to provide some context and insight into these types of places for anyone curious enough to know. Today, we are going to explore a bit of Kawagoe in the Saitama prefecture. It was actually one of the first municipalities to be given the status of a city in the prefecture, and its history kind of begins as a resting spot for weary travelers on the road to Edo. The name Kawagoe derives from the fact that the city was built over a river, so it quite literally means river crossing, and it gets the nickname Koedo, or Little Edo, from the fact that it was one of the main stops on the way into Tokyo, known as Edo at the time. Because of this, it's actually home to tons of relics from the Edo period. It's just a really interesting place, and I'm really excited to talk about it with you all. So, let's get into it. Now, keeping in mind its branding as Little Edo, it's important to notice that while there are lots of historical sites and relics that have accumulated in Kawagoe, there are also things that seem older than they actually are. They're often rebuilt or repurposed that way because, Kawagoe is, after all, a tourist attraction. So, what I'm getting at is there was a huge fire in 1893 which actually destroyed most of the storehouse district, including the significant bell tower in the center known as Toki no Kane. And that bell tower was actually originally built in the year 1630. Most of the buildings throughout Kawagoe's Edo-style shopping district, including that bell tower, were all rebuilt and constructed in the likeness of what was tragically burnt down. Now, I know it might sound like I'm tearing down Kawagoe after hyping it up for you guys, but I just want to let you know there's an issue that goes on in these types of places that boast a kind of historical importance as a tourist attraction, right? You have things that are actually old, and then you have things that are built to just look old, and they while they have a value as a representation, they weren't there, right, during that time. So before I get into the Senba Toshogu Shrine, I kind of want to touch on those representative bits. So off to the left, as you're heading towards the Senba Toshogu Shrine, there's this really cool picture opportunity, a great photo op for your Instagram, but it doesn't necessarily have that historical importance like the Senba Toshogu Shrine. Now, it's an Itsukushima shrine, and the shrine is dedicated kind of to water goddesses. Of course, Kawagoe is literally river crossing in Japanese. The whole city is built over a river, so why not have a shrine that's dedicated to a river goddess? It is very, very representative of Kawagoe, but it's not necessarily old. It's actually kind of a modern site. It's a real shrine, but it just hasn't been there for all that long. So, anyway, let's go to the place that has been there for all that long, which is the Senba Toshogu Shrine. It's not only a representation of the great Tokugawa Ieyasu, but it's also over 300 years old. Here we finally are, the Senba Toshogu Shrine. Can you smell it? That's the smell of a really old shrine. So, anyway, this shrine was originally built around 1633 to honor the great Tokugawa Ieyasu after his death in the year 1616. Now, just like some of the other places around Kawagoe, it's plagued with a little bit of a rebuild backstory. As I said before, the shrine was built in 1633. It was destroyed by a fire just 7 years after it was built. But it was almost immediately rebuilt by the third Tokugawa shogun, Iemitsu. While it's not the original, it is a spitting image replica that is over 380 years old. Quick tip. In case you didn't know, Shogun Tokugawa Ieyasu was so powerful and influential that his family line, known as the Tokugawa shogunate, would rule over Japan for 265 years, from 1603 AD until 1868 AD, in a time known as the Tokugawa period. Now, this period is also known as the Edo period, and he is known as one of the three great unifiers of Japan. The roofs of shrines are typically made out of bronze, and as bronze ages over the course of 30 to 50 years, the outer layer corrodes and fades into this kind of greenish blue hue. The presence of this greenish bronze really helps denote that this is a genuine shrine with some age to it. It really gives off an ancient feel, doesn't it? I don't know why, that coloration just gives it that aura. Now, the shrine caretakers do have the ability to restore the bronze to its original color, but this old feeling is a desired effect. I'm not telling you this because shrine caretakers are out to trick you. I'm telling you this because it's a really neat aesthetic. It's cool to be able to point out bronze when you see it. Now, I want to touch on one of the often overlooked points when checking out old shrines in Japan, and it's the woodworking. This entire shrine is handmade using traditional Japanese carpentry techniques. As you can see here, there are tiny circular holes along the edge of the decorative carvings, but don't be fooled. These are not spots for screws or nails. A gimlet, called a kiri in Japanese, is used to bore these circular holes, and the connecting piece is a wooden stake fit to the size of the hole. The secret lies in the fact that they do not use screws, nails, or any sort of glue to bring the wood together. The roof and the walls follow this same pattern. However, the holes are, of course, much larger and square-shaped. Lumber is cut to size and brought through these holes, all connecting to each other like one big puzzle, and it's absolutely mind-boggling that structures built using these techniques developed thousands of years ago are much sturdier and longer lasting than wooden structures built using modern-day tools. So the last thing I want to bring up are about the shrine posting spots and offering bins. Here, anyone, even foreigners, can write their desires for the year in the hopes that the gods will listen and grant their wish. Traditionally, this is done alongside dropping a monetary offering into the donation bin. There's also a kind of customary tradition that involves bowing and clapping your hands twice, but that deserves a video of its own. For now, know that the places that look like this, with all these kind of little signs, are actually hopes and wishes and kind of messages to the gods of the area. Most shrines of any size will have something that looks like this. So now you know what it's there for, and if you get the chance, you can even write your own wish or desire or message to the Japanese gods. Well, that's all for now. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video tour of the Senba Toshogu Shrine in Kawagoe. And don't forget to like and subscribe. If you have any questions about Japanese culture or suggestions for me, feel free to comment below. Until next time, saraba!